Today we're looking at Omas Blue. Hi, I'm Adam, and I'm an ink guy. I get inks, test them, and share the results with you. Now, as it sounds, Omas Blue is a blue ink. To make sure I have a range of writing experience with this ink, what I do is the writing samples, I then put the ink into a different pen for a day. I then put it into a Retro 51 Tornado with a broad nib. Now, before we get to the writing sample, let's take a look at the sciencey bits. Up first is a chromatography, and I agree with Vita that I've learned a lot by doing multiple chromatographies. The one on the left is done the way it's supposed to be done. I put a line of ink down, I dunk it in the water for 10 to 15 seconds, and we see that it almost does not budge. Now, the one on the right I let dry for 10 minutes. Then I dunk it into the water for 10 to 15 seconds. We see that it barely budges, but it still has some of the blue that moves up. Like the first one had some blue that moves up. Now, resistance tests are done to see how this can be expected to perform on paper, and more importantly, how hard it might be to clean out of your pens. Resistance tests are done to see how well this can be expected to perform on paper, and more importantly, how hard it might be to clean out of your pens. I let the smear dry for 3 days before testing it. We see that the highlighter had no problem. There's no reactivation, nothing happens. Water did absolutely nothing to it. Now, pen flush moved some. You see when it moved up and it moved towards the highlighter, it started moving some of that blue. It's going to take a lot to get this out. You're going to need flush for this. Bleach completely removed it off the page. For the inks I've tested, I have found an average viscosity of 2.5, with the realm of normal being from 2.1 to 2.9. Omas Blue has a viscosity of 1.67, which is in the red and makes it flow like water. This is an incredibly wet ink. Along with its permanence that we've seen, we see that it is very, very wet. To find my average dry times, I use the extra fine and medium nibs on my writing samples on Clairefontaine, Tomoe River, and Rhodia paper. I really butchered that. For the inks I've tested, I've found an average dry time of 17 seconds, with normal being from 13 to 21 seconds. Omas Blue has a dry time of 5 seconds. That makes it really, really fast. You see, I don't even know that I have a line on this one. I got to double check. We see on the bell curve, this is way down there. This is past the red. This is left of red. This is almost an instantaneous dry. Amazing and perfect for students. Now let's look at the writing sample. This ink I have in bottle form, and it is a powerful, powerful ink. To keep my writing samples consistent, I use a Jinhao 159 with a Goulet 1.1 stub. I use a Jinhao X450 with a Goulet medium, and a Jinhao X750 with a Goulet extra fine. Let's look at the Clairefontaine. Clairefontaine gives us no bleeding, no ghosting, and with the 1.1, we have no feather, no spread, no halo, no sheen, but we definitely do get some color variation. We get very dark parts and much lighter parts, which is nice. On the extra fine, no feather, no spread, no halo, no sheen. We do have some shading. We have quite a bit of shading. On a super fast drying ink, only 3 seconds to dry. I wish I could translate this. If you can translate this, let's get this in focus. If you can tell me if this is actually like a fast dry permanent, haven't been able to find it, I'd appreciate it. Leave that in the comments down below, because I think it is. Medium, definitely darker, definitely a darker tone. Medium gives us no feather, no spread, no halo, no sheen. A lot of good shading. Plenty of good shading. And 4 seconds to dry. Looking at the scrubby, we expect to see a lot of shading that goes on with this ink. And the smear There is no doubt in the world that you could recover this if you smeared it. Looking at Tomoe River, we have no bleeding. We have ghost, always, Tomoe River. With the 1.1, we have no feather, no spread, no halo, no sheen, no shade. It's like a blue-black, the way it gets dark with this up here. Looking at the extra fine, we have no feather, no spread, no halo, no sheen. We do get some shading, not a ton, but some shading, just a little bit. You see it in the fox. The F is lighter, the X is definitely darker. On quick, the UI is definitely darker, the K is definitely, the UI is definitely lighter, the K is definitely darker. So we do get spots of shade on Tomoe River. That's pretty amazing to me. 5 seconds to dry. And on the medium, no feather, no spread, no halo, no sheen, and we do get some shading. So here's an ink that's defeating, to me, Tomoe River, in that it's giving us some of these qualities that are fantastic. So we do get some of these shadings some shade spots in the medium nib on Tomoe River. 7 seconds to dry. This might be one of the fastest drying inks that I've come across. With the scrubby, we see that we get some color variation, but the really interesting part is the smear test. Both smear tests, I think this is the only ink I've tested that you could definitely recover if you smeared it on Tomoe River paper. It dries that fast, and yet it doesn't bleed through. Interesting. Looking at Rhodia paper, we have no bleeding, no ghosting. With the 1.1, we have no feather, no spread, no halo, no sheen. We definitely have shading. Definitely get to have some shading. Look at the top of the O to the M. The left side of the B compared to the right side of the B. So we get shade with this. With the extra fine, we have no feather, no spread, no halo, no sheen. Definitely getting shading. 3 seconds to dry. The medium gives us no feather, no spread, no halo, and no sheen. Plenty of shade. Plenty of shading going on with this ink. This is an ink that I had to get in bottle form. I couldn't get a sample of this. So when I came across a bottle and I picked it up, I was just hoping for the best. I picked this up at a flea market, and I was just hoping it was still good, hoping everything went well. This is a nice ink. Little extra effort to clean out of a pen, though. Just going to say that. Little extra effort. Not the end of the world. Smear can definitely recover this smear like absolutely readable. So I like to test these inks sometimes on different papers just to see what a different color background does to the color of the ink. This ink is strong. It holds its tone even with the yellow background. The tones are unchanged when we look at this. In all three. So that's very neat. Still no feather, no spread, no ghosting, and no bleed. It is Rhodia paper still. With the yellow, we have no feather, no spread, no halo, no sheen, plenty of shading, even with the yellow background. It's a little bit darker in the 1.1. In its darks are darker. Its lights are still nice and light. That's the tone change that I see for the yellow. With the with the extra fine, we have no feather, no spread, no halo, no sheen. We still get shading. Look at quick and then to the K. Look at the T to the HE. So it goes from lighter to definitely darker. Look at over, how the R gets much darker. 3 seconds to dry. Medium, no feather, no spread, no halo, no sheen. Absolutely get shading. So the shade is with this ink. 5 seconds to dry. Looking at the scrubby, we definitely do see that we get some color variation with this. And the smear test, 100% recoverable. So then I went to test Gilelo as a paper. Again, I just want to see what happens with this with different color backgrounds. So we have no bleeding and we have no ghosting. And I'm just trying to look at the blue part on the Omas Blue. And now we have this like gray, this dark gray background. And we're not seeing huge tone differences. This is a strong, strong ink in its color. The fact that different color backgrounds are not really affecting the color. And look at that. Look at the blue itself that we're seeing here with 4 different tone papers. And unless it's whitest of white, we're not seeing huge tone differences, which is pretty amazing stuff. That's pretty strong. 1.1, we have no feather, no spread, no halo, no sheen. We get shading. It doesn't show as much because of the darker paper, but it is definitely there. Moving on to the extra fine. We have no feather, no spread, no halo, no sheen. We definitely get shading. When the shading happens, it's very dark. So it goes from its normal blue to very dark. And that's the shade you're getting with this particular paper. But this is also an absorbent paper. More absorbent, at least. 1 second to dry here. The medium, no feather, no spread, no halo, no sheen. We really don't get to see the shading here. Although, when we compare the medium to the extra fine, there's a definite shade difference between the two of them. It's just not shading in the writing. Now, when we look at the scrubby, we barely see anything that kind of goes on with the extra fine, and we don't see it with the medium, which is what shows up in the writing. So it's consistent in that way. And on the smear test, you can recover this. This is a good ink. I would love to get my hands on more Omas inks just to see if they are all this good. And that's a neat bottle. That is a neat bottle that you can prop up in different ways to get to it. And the opening's not too bad. Look at that. So with the 159, which is a larger pen, no problem. That's way big enough. So that's all I have for the writing sample. Instead of finding inks that look like Omas Blue, I would prefer to find an ink that would complement its color on the page, and I think I got one that can complement it in some of its permanence, being Noodler's Nikita, for being a great red ink that also tends to be quite permanent. Now, before I give my opinion on this ink, I would ask, if you've enjoyed the video, give it a thumbs up. And if it's your first time here, I would invite you to subscribe. So what do I think of Omas Blue? I think this is a powerful ink. Very powerful. I am so happy that I managed to get a bottle of this ink. I need more. It dries so fast. It flows so well. Yes, there's no shading. Its permanence is fantastic. It's an amazing, an absolutely amazing ink. Thanks for watching.